Hi, everyone. It's Thursday night. Time to learn something. So anyway, what are we going to talk about tonight? Tonight, we're going to talk about, here we go. We're going to talk about Bobbinworks, and Bobbinworks is a lot of fun. And what is Bobbinworks? Bobbinworks is simply working from underneath. You're going to work backwards, and it is a lot of fun. And we're going to talk about doing Bobbinworks with our embroidery stitch or we call them decorative stitches. We're going to do it free motion, like if you're going to do it for quilting, as well as embroidery. We're going to talk about all three. What is Bobbinworks? Bobbinworks is actually working from underneath, and I have a couple of examples. Here is one. This one, if my former ladies will notice this, we've used it several times. This was just a Christmas tree. And then this was also done right here, which is just my plain old, this was a utility stitch, which I think was a 3-step zigzag. And of course I used my serger in order to finish the edge of this placemat. And it was actually done from underneath. So when I sewed, this was what was up top. This is another one. Now this is this was doing quilting with Bobbinworks. Not a whole lot of this. A lot of this is standard quilting, but this really heavy stitch right here that goes around the middle circle, that was Bobbinwork, as well as, where's the corners? These corners were also free motion quilted with Bobbinworks done from behind. Okay, easy to do. Let's talk about them. Couple things you'll need. Let me get this out of the way. Couple things you'll need for Bobbinworks. So the things you're going to need, you're going to need some stabilizer, and you can use either a cutaway or a tearaway, or just use several layers of a lot of spray starch, or even better, Terrial Magic, in order to give it a little bit of body, because there's a lot of drag pulling those thick threads through the stitching process, and it tends to tunnel up your fabric, make them bunch up. So you're going to be using threads that you can't possibly use in your needle. This is actually a serger thread, and it's even doesn't go through the needle of a serger, it goes through the loopers, and it's a very thick, I think this is like a 6-weight thread, I'm not really sure. So this cannot possibly go through any needle, even if you've got a size 16 top stitch needle. Okay, then another one you can use, it's out of the way, and then this is a pearl crown rayon. This is also made by YLI, and it's very thick. Again, it's to be used in the loopers of your serger. You can also use, this is one of my favorites to use, which is candlelight thread. This is by Superior Threads, and they call this Razzle Dazzle. Really pretty thread. If you can see it, I'll put it against something dark. It's really pretty, but it's very thick. This is all thread that you would normally use for couching, and Bobbinworks is actually couching from underneath. I don't see anyone climb. Okay, and then this is just crochet thread. This is tatting thread, really thick. You can use crochet cotton. You can use silk ribbon, embroidery thread, or silk ribbon thread that you would use for handwork. Any threads that you can use that you would normally couch on, you can use it in Bobbinworks. So what you do is you want to wind your bobbin, and here's one already wound. When you're winding the bobbin, let me come up here so you can see this. When you're winding the bobbin, I'm using my bobbin winder, and I've got my, I don't have this particular thread in there. I wound them earlier. So you would put them, run them through here. Now, normally you run this around this, so you just want to simply curl it, because you don't want to, you want some tension, but not a whole lot. If you're using like a baby fingering yarn, you probably would hand wind it. It is possible to do that. And then when you turn your winder on over here, you want to wind it at its slowest speed possible. So, and you wind it slowly, not with a lot of tension. Be sure to wind several bobbins, because this stuff doesn't last very long. if you're using like baby fingering yarn or the ribbon embroidery, the ribbon, what do you call it? Silk ribbon thread, the 3 millimeter wide silk ribbon, you're going to wind that by hand. And an easy way to wind things by hand is to take a pencil. I usually take it on the end of a pencil and I'll hold it out by hand and I just simply turn it until it's full. And so you can wind your own if it doesn't want to. You're not going to run it. A lot of times if you have the kind of bobbins that, well, this one, see, this one's got a problem with it. See how I don't like that sticking out? If you have anything sticking out like that, you want to cut them close. You don't want that getting caught. When you put the bobbin into your machine, normally you just drop it in. And for this, I am using, you have a baby lock and a brother, there is an alternate bobbin case. It is gray. And you can do a couple of things. This kind of thread is kind of nice. You know, it's not, again, I had a big fuzzy there. Cut that off. Okay, don't want it to get wrapped around a stitch. Okay, so you would put this in your bobbin case and run it into the spring right here. There's a spring, so you just run it through and you're going to pull it. You want almost no, you don't want to feel any pullback on it. You want it coming out rather free form. If it doesn't work, if your thread is just way too thick and you can't change the tension, then just bypass it, which means don't run it in that spring at all. When you're doing bobbin work, this one is, I don't know if you can see it. You see how there's different, this is not the normal bobbin case, the one that came with the machine. So get that. You can see right here, see right there, it kind of sticks up. And what that does is it holds the bobbin down when you're using it. The regular bobbin case doesn't have these little nubbies at the top, and therefore your bobbin can flop around. Will it stitch? Yeah, probably. Will it stitch well? Well, who knows? You know, just have to try it. So I'm going, now you can adjust the bobbin tension. You have 2 screws on here. You have one that's a flathead, which is, and if you look at it, it's to the one mostly on the left when you're holding it up, and it's a flathead screw. Then you have one that is a Phillips screw, which has the X. Remember, the X is don't touch this. Don't move that, because that's what holds the spring in the first place. So you don't want to loosen that because it'll come apart. And that's not a good thing. So you can use this a little, usually 5-10 minutes, turn right or left to tighten or loosen it as you like. And this is a process where you're actually going to have to use, you're going to have to do some test stitching to see what works and what doesn't work on your machine. Now, I did a lot of testing on this one, and some I liked and some I didn't. So anyway, I have changed this bobbin case in order to accommodate this particular thread, which is why we're going to stick to this one. There we go. Put that in correctly and put the case back on. And I'm just going to drop my bobbin in and run it through. Then put my cover on and we're ready to go. Okay. When I did some test stitching, and we're talking about some of these stitches and how that some worked, some didn't. I'm going to show them to you from the needle side. Now, what I used in the needle is just plain old embroidery thread, about the same color as what I have underneath. So I used orange on both. And like I said, you got to do a test. And some of these worked and some of these didn't. The first thing I did was this one over here. Notice that doesn't look right. Things are kind of crooked. So I noticed things weren't working. Now, what I did is there is a stitch in your machine, which is your test stitch. And if you go into your book under character and decorative stitches and look up the section that says making adjustments, because then what you have to do is that you're going to have to go into the settings page of your machine and make adjustments for the movement of your feed dogs because they're going to react a little differently. If you notice at this one right here, it's supposed to look like a perfect cartoon bubble. It's supposed to look like that, okay? But it looked like that where the X crisscrossed. So, well, that and one is in front of the other. It didn't look quite right. These are not in a row. These two lines were not in a row. So I did another one and I corrected the horizontal. Then I had to go and correct, but it was still far apart. It went a little too far apart. And then I corrected it until I got the perfect cartoon bubble. Now, when I go back to regular decorative stitching, where I put the embroidery bobbin thread in the bottom, and I've used like just embroidery 40 weight embroidery thread in the top, then I'm going to have to do this again because the bobbin thread, this thick stuff, is going to do a little more pull than usual. So you might have to go back and fix it again. Okay. So anyway, I discovered too. Now these are a bean stitch. Okay. This one is also back and forth. So when you look at the stitching here, it kind of looks like a boucle. You know, it's a little too thick. I don't like the way it looped. I didn't like the way these stitches did, and that's because it was doing a back and forth bean stitch. So it went two forward and two forward and three back. No, three forward and two back. You know, so over stitch, and that looks lumpy. So I don't like the look of that. And that happened with a couple of stitches. Well, some of the stitches, I see this one. This one, it looks nice on this side. But when you look at this side, you've got lumps in some sections and not in the others. I don't like the way that one looks. So what I discovered is that you're going to have to do stitches that have a continuous forward advancement. In other words, you don't want them to go forward and back, or back on each other, because then that's going to give you a lot of thickness in one spot and not in another. So they don't look particularly nice. So things that did look nice is this one, which they forward advance all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to keep going forward. That means that they can only stitch one time. They're not going to backtrack upon themselves. So that one looked nice. And here's what it looks like on the back. So I thought that would really look nice. Then we have the Greek key. So that continually moves and it looked nice. My little trees, which I thought was really cute. And it looked nice. So on the back, although I'm not as thrilled with that, that is kind of, well, they don't look quite as sharp as I would like them to be. So I probably wouldn't use that one. Those great big ones look really nice. Okay. Even though it did back tack right here, but you know, it's a stem. It's okay. It did candle wicking. Look how different this candle wicking. This is on the needle side, but look at it on this side. It's nice and thick. It's really pretty. I really like that. I'm going to use those candle wicks more often. And there's just this simple wave stitch, and it looks completely different. What I didn't like, these are those really thick zigzags, the satin stitch, which on this machine is category 8, which are these stitches. These did not turn. I don't like the way they turned out. This one, it looks okay. It tended to tunnel, and I tried playing with the tensions. No matter what I did to the tensions, I still had it bunching, and I didn't like the way that looked at all. So I probably would not use anything in this menu at all. It's too thick. Even if I thinned it out, because a lot of these stitches, you have a choice of either doing regular density or high density. Well, high density would have been a nightmare, but even regular density did not work very well. Okay. I did, here is an alphabet. So that didn't look too bad. Well, no, that alphabet looks horrible. See, I can't even recognize that as an out. For one thing, it's backwards. So that didn't work. I guess, you know what, I didn't think of trying. Let me go back to character and decorative, and I want, let's see, A, B, C. I wonder what happens if you, see, it doesn't, well, yeah, you could, Let me just go back, delete. There's the A. We'll try that one. And yes, you can reverse it. And we'll see what it looks like. We'll do that one in a minute. Okay, and then I went back and did another stitch like this one, and that looked nice. Well, this one had some back tacking right here. This one, not so wonderful. So anyway, here's where let's get started. I'm going to put my foot pedal on. Well, let's do this A, okay, that I selected, and I'm doing is the large A. So let's see what it looks like. So I already have my piece. I just put a fusible, dropping number one thing. I've just got a regular, it's just a piece of linen here, and I put a fusible stabilizer on the back. I used a cutaway, but it doesn't matter whether you're using a cutaway or a tearaway, just as long as you have something. And I'm going to work from underneath. Okay. So the foot that I'm using for this is I am using a regular end foot. This is my end foot, the open toe end foot. I like to use open toe because then I can see what I'm doing. Usually I can't see. So I'm going to start over here. I'm going to lower my presser foot. I'm going to put one stitch down and one stitch up. Okay, I'm going to do one letter because I was thinking if you have more than one letter, you're going to have to not only put it reverse, but you're going to have to write it, key it in backwards. So anyway, you pull your bobbin thread up to the top. If you have trouble pulling it to the top, then get a great big-eyed needle, big thick needle, like a darning needle. And where that stitch wants to go in, just punch it through first and make a hole in the fabric. And that will make it easier. So anyway, okay, so now I'm just going to let it do the stitch. And this has a zigzag to it. Okay, the other thing you can't do is you can't use your scissor. So you pull forward. So I'm going to raise the presser foot and pull forward. And usually what I do is I will pull the threads, and then if you can pull them forward, if you can't, that's okay too, because then you would take a big-eyed needle. Okay, it's a big-eyed needle, and you take the front and you crease and sew it through, and then just push it through to the back. And then you're going to tie the threads to secure them. You're going to simply tie them in a knot. Like a double knot, that's all you need. Here's the beginning. Here's the end. Okay. So bobbin work is a lot of fun, especially when you start doing things for the holiday, because I love to use that razzle dazzle thread. It really makes things look pretty and decorative. You can do this on, remember it's reverse couching. Rid of these threads there. Okay, and so there it is. Isn't it wonderful? No, it's okay. The zigzag is a little on the thick side, but I think it looks okay. But see, you would have to reverse it. Let's see if we put more than one letter. So I'm going to go, and I'm going to go C, reverse, B, reverse, and then A, and reverse it. Then I'm going to try it again. Again, I'm going to, first stitching, I'm going to start by pulling my thread up and down, up, grab the threads, hold them out to the side. I like to start with my threads underneath because that way I know I'm not going to get them caught underneath. Like I just did. Okay, we'll let that stitch out. This time I did ABC, but I started with the last letter first. Let's see what happens if it even looks like an ABC. It's on the B. And I reversed them as well as put them in reverse order. No, you put them in regular order. Yeah, so it went in CBA. Okay, so much for that idea. So yes, I mean, it's well, maybe that's somebody's monogram. So things that looked good, the ones that did look and the ones that didn't look good. So doing decorative stitches, your heirloom stitches usually look nice. Most of these ones that look nice, like I said, are these, like this one where it goes back and forth, is not going to work well. There's the cartoon bubble. These look lovely, and I think I'm going to do those on some. These here where there are words, no, they're going to be backwards. Although, if you pick this, you are going to have, I don't know what that is. Oh, and then I would have to reverse it to have it look right. These, like this, look terrible. Those eyelet ones did not look good. Those look terrible, but it's fun to try them out. But you want to, like I said, you want to have stabilizer on the back in order to test those stitches. And you're going to tie them at the beginning, pull them to the back at the beginning of the stitch, and then you're going to either, if you can't pull them through the back at the end of the stitch, then you're going to go ahead and just get a needle and push the front to the back. Okay, now to change this over, let's talk about doing free motion. Like you could do some quilting here. Here's the sample that I did before. Let's go over here. Here's the sample I did before, and it was quilted from this side. One advantage is that you can draw on the wrong side of your quilt, and it not only will do the quilting, but it will also do this couching on the front. So that looked really nice. So anyway, here's what we can do. All right, I'm going to switch to utility. Okay, and I want to switch to the quilting menu, and I want is the middle stitch piecing, and I also want to lower my feed dogs, and see, it's telling me to use one of those quilting feet. I'm going to be using the open toe quilting foot here. Again, I'm going to, so we'll do a feather. I'm going to lower my presser, lower the presser foot, take one needle and one needle up, one needle down, and then I'm going to pull this through. Okay, there, I got the end of my quilt, my thread in my hand. I like to start with my needle down and the presser foot down. Presser foot. Okay, so put here, and then you're going to quilt as normal. So I'm going to do my stem, and I tend to work. You want to do as little back tacking as possible, and you want your stitches to be fairly long. This is my stem. And this is where I would recommend that you do an open feather, which means, see over here where it's hard to see. There we go. It's open. See how they're not touching? So I'm going to come in front of it so that that thread will lay side by side. Instead of, and before I come to the end, I'm going to want to tie this and clip it. Okay, and with my scissors, and I'm just going to clip it, and then it's out of the way. Now, if this were an actual quilt, I would bury these threads, but I'm not going to now. Just pretend I did. I'll come down the other side. You are controlling it. You're going to make a little bit longer stitch than normal. One good thing is that you don't even have to try to back tack. Now, if this were a quilt you were doing, I would then pull my threads up. Hold on to this. Hand needle down, needle up, and then this should allow you to pull that up. There we go, and it did. And I'm going to clip the thread that's moving. This one on the bottom is not moving, it's stuck to the bottom. And now when I pull this out, and I can clip my needle, there are no threads on the back. Oop, here we go. There's no threads on the back of it or the front of my quilt. Remember, I've quilted this upside down. And again, I would knot this and then take my big-eyed needle. And I'll show you how it looks like. You want to tie it at least a double knot, even if you are burying your threads, because that's going to want to come out. This is a really, really soft thread that tends to, as they say, bloom, I say fray very easily. So I'm going to thread that. I can thread it. There we go. Then run this up into or beside. Probably want to take a really long-eyed needle, but not necessarily this thick, because that was a little hard to push through. Flip it. And now you can't see it from either the front or the back. So that's a nice way to quilt, to do a quilt, and it really gives a nice texture to it. There's so much thickness to that thread, you almost can't tell the stitches because there's a slight twist to that thread. So therefore, what looks like a lot of stitches that are extremely even are not. That's just the twist of the thread. Okay. All righty. Next, we want to switch to machine embroidery. We need to just change the foot again. Put the embroidery foot in. And I usually get a screwdriver to make sure it's nice and tight. Now this is the Destiny, the Baby Lock Destiny, and it has built-in bobbinwork embroidery. I believe the Ulissimo does, and I think so does the Solaris, Luminaire, Destiny, Dream Machine, that kind of thing. So anyway, I am now going to go to embroidery and let it do its thing. Again, I'm leaving. You do want to make sure you have enough embroidery bobbin thread in there. I'm not sure if I do, but this first design really isn't very big. Okay, so I have a whole category in this machine for bobbin works. And it's got lots and lots of built-in designs. And I'm going to pick this one, which is very small and will stitch quickly. And this is actually digitized for bobbin work. And this will fit in a 4x4 frame. Okay, so I'm going to put my frame in the machine. Is that too? That's okay. Okay. And this fits in the 4x4 machine. So again, what I want to do is lower my presser foot, and I am going to go to embroidery. Couple things with this. You're going to want to turn off your end color and turn off your jump stitches in this machine because I selected the bobbin work section. It already did it for me. But if you use an external design or another design, then you want to make sure that it does not cut those jump stitches and it does not cut your end stitches. It's not going to work. Okay. Okay. So I want to use the plus or minus, and I want to advance to the first stitch of the design, because look what happens here. It's on the 0 center now. As soon as I hit +1, see, it's moved. It's from here that I'm going to put my needle down, needle up, raise my presser foot, grab those threads and pull that bobbin thread up. Okay, lower my presser foot and stitch. And this only takes like a minute. Oh, the other thing, forgot to tell you, what you want to do in embroidery is that you want to go to your settings pages and you want to move your maximum embroidery speed. That is at 100. Mine goes now. I have the second update on the second or third update for my Destiny, and it allowed me to slow down my machine to 100 stitches per minute. That's a little bit overkill. I'm going to go to 350, which is what most machines do, is they will mostly go down to 350. This one is rare that it goes to 100. And so I changed it to 350. The default for bobbin work. Okay, notice that. Well, and I'll show you later on when I go to regular embroidery. This one is set at 100 stitches per minute when it is doing bobbin work. 350 is what most machines do, as low as most machines go. So let's see what it looks like. And I can compare it to when we did before. Still, 350 is pretty slow. I'm going to do half of this at 350 and I'll do the other half at 100, and let's see what the difference is. Stop it and now move that down to 100. Okay, and let's see what the difference in how it looks is. Oh, that's annoying. That is so slow. It's very annoying. That light's too bright. Let me switch off the light. And now I can't see it to stitch, but it looks much brighter on the screen. Sometimes the LED lights, they're nice for our eyes. They are not nice for cameras. That's thoroughly annoying to go this slow. You don't have to hold on to this. It's going to end in the same spot and I'll sew all together. And here it goes, and it will finish. And again, I'm going to pull it out of the machine. I'm going to cut this out. And again, okay. Let's see, we did this side here. I don't see any noticeable difference whatsoever. I'd probably leave it at 350 because I have like totally no patience. But that actually worked out pretty good. But so like I said, you can quilt on your machine, and you can even quilt with Bobbinworks. Okay. Now, I have this design that I digitized for you guys, okay? And this is from the back. Here's from the front. And by the way, I'm using my brand new 5x7 magnetic frame, and oh my God, I love it. It worked really, really well. So, and this one, it's taking a little bit longer, but it's stitched now. Yeah, let's go ahead and load it in. So I'm going to load this one. Do I have enough? Yeah, I think I have enough thread. Out of the way. And okay, and just going out into embroidery here. Okay, I want to do a couple of things on here. Well, actually, before I do this, let's talk about IQ Designer with Bobbinworks and how you would change it. I'm going to do something very simple with IQ Designer. Okay, IQ Designer, I'm in IQ Designer now. Okay, I'm going to pick a shape, and I'm just going to find a scroll. Where's a nice scroll? Well, this one's kind of simple, and it should, oh wait, I think maybe we'll do those running the waves. I think that would look cute. So I'm gonna hit that. Okay, and it's on the screen here, but I'm going to take my line items here, my line properties. I want to pick a double line. Now, the problem with doing bobbin work in embroidery in IQ Designer is the fact that it's going to do a double run. You cannot do a single run. I'll make it red. Okay, so I'm going to flood it with a single run. And how big is that? It's a little big, so I'm going to hit size and make it smaller. So I want to go to I have my 5x7 frame there, so I need to select it. Select key. I want to select this and go to size and make it smush it up so it'll fit in the 5x7 frame. Or okay, the stitches are all in there. Okay. Oops. Want somehow fix the selection. Okay, we're good. All right. So now when I'm ready to stitch, I don't know if you can see it. It's showing that it's red. It's just these wave stitches. Nothing fancy here. Go back out a little bit. I'm going to hit next. And now what I have to do is I have to change this stitch length because it's really tiny and I don't know what 0.808 inches is. I'm going to know that better in metric. So I'm going to go to my settings pages and change this to metric because I have no idea what 0.08 is. It's a 2 millimeter long stitch. I do know that for bobbin work, you want to pick a stitch at least 3.5 or bigger. I'm going to make that bigger. Probably going to make it, not 6. 4. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to hit set, preview, and it's going to show me what it's going to look like. Okay, that's good. Let's stitch it. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, it's ready to stitch. Again, I'm going to go to embroidery. Need to make sure it's still off. Okay, and I want to go to the first stitch. Okay, so now it's moved all the way over there. Okay, again, I'm going to lower my presser foot, take one stitch, pull it up. Need to grab it. Might need tweezers to grab it. Okay, and then let's go ahead and stitch it. See what it looks like. This should take a minute to stitch. Then I have my stabilizer on the top and my fabric is underneath. And it's going to double stitch it. So let's just see. I'm going to let it stop it in the middle so we can compare. Okay, and raise my presser foot. And we'll just pull it out. You could pull it up, but it's not that easy. To me, it's easier to take my stuff out and cut it. All right, let's see. All righty, here. It's a magnetic frame. My scissors stick to it. Yeah, I like that. Okay. It took my scissors. Okay, here is the single run. Close. Here's the double run. I really like, oddly enough, I like the double run in this case. It's thicker and it's more tactile. That looks actually rather nice. Okay, so And of course, I'm not going to take the time to stitch. What was this? We're going to talk about how to digitize. And this time I'm going to show you how to do this on Embrilliance or Designer's Gallery Creator. All right. I'll go to a new page. Okay, so what I did here, this is it's either Embrilliance or a Stitch Artist or Designer's Gallery Creator. They're the same product. So if you guys still have Creator, your software will work, and this works. And Brilliance, Designer or Creator are the only ones that will work on a Mac computer in its native form. You can use Palette and all of those on an emulator that for the Mac, but we don't support the Mac versions of it. At least BabyLock doesn't. But the Embrilliance works on either platform, either Windows or the Mac platform. So here's my new screen. So I'm using a 5x7 frame. So here I would go to my hoop here and select the 130 by 180, and I like to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay. So I will take my image, and I think I put the image on this. There it is. There's the scroll. It's a JPEG. I just found an image that I like. And there's my design. I'm going to make that a little bigger, and then I'm going to trace it. In Brilliance, we have a visitor over here. Okay, bye. So she loves to do that. So anyway, what we're going to do is I'm going to take my drawing tool, which is up here. You can see that, my hand moving around here. And I'm going to trace it, and I have it in red right now. And what you want to do is that why I use this is versus the IQ Designer for most things is that you can control your starts and your stops, and you have to do that. You want to think through your design so that you only have it over stitching one time, and you ideally should have it start and stop in the same spot so you can pull all your threads through at one time. So I take my drawing tool, and I am just simply clicking. I'll just do one section of it because I've already done this. And I'm just tracing here my outline. When I come to a tight curve, the tighter the curves, the closer you put the nodes. And if they're not perfect, that's okay. We can fix them. And I'm choosing to start right up in that one spot where they meet, because this is actually two lines that you put together. We're almost there, and yeah, I missed that one, but that's okay. I'll show you how to fix it. You try to get your curve with as few nodes as possible, because that's just something when I come, I put to the end, I'm going to put a node right next to it and right click. Okay, so there's my design right there. Okay, so I am going to apply the stitch to it while it's selected, which is a running stitch. And here I'm going to tell it that I want it to be, well, it's 3.5 millimeters. That's fine. I'll just leave it like that. But here you have a choice of changing that to a single, a double, or bean, a chain, a back stitch, a stem stitch, or a sassicone stitch. I haven't played with all those, come to think, but I didn't know it did the sassicone. I have to see what that looks like because that's new. It just updated. I mean, they just did an update to it, and the updates are almost free. Almost, well, they're always free. No stepping on the computer, Lily. She's threatening us. And so now, when you get rid of the image, cancel. You don't want to see the image anymore. Okay, I can't remember how you block out the image, and it's hard with a cat in front of it. Move. Honest to goodness. There we go. There's my background image is gone. So when I select this, I now have the ability, see these little round circles? If I click on a round circle, and this little one's kind of angular. Well, over here, that doesn't look perfect. When I click on it, it has these little handlebars, and I see I can move these little handlebars to fix the stitching. I can also move them if I want to, move them out a little bit, tweak it, get it exactly like I like it. And I can even run a stitch simulator here to show you how it's going to stitch out, which is there. And see, now you can see it stitch out. It's real easy. Then you would save it. This I would have the opportunity to size it if I decided it was too big or too small. And here's what the finished one looked like right there. So there's the finished design. And say I decided it doesn't, I do have to make a change to this, because I do want this to fit in a 4x4 hoop so that everybody can use it. Because right now it doesn't. It's like a tiny bit too long. So I would simply select the entire design and change the hoop to 4x4, which is 100 by 100. Where is it? There it is, 100 by 100. Okay. And I want to use that select. There should be a fit to hoop button. Okay, I can't find the fit by hoop. Fit to hoop button. There is a, well, I will just scoot it down until it fits inside. Actually, I don't want it. There's my 4x4 hoops. I'll move that side in. Move this side in. It's going to fit. And now I'll save it. File. Save as, and I like to save as a stitch in a working file. A working file is going to be a BLF file, which is just going to have all the coding, starts, stops, angles, all that kind of stitches, colors, whatever. And then that's the working file. A stitch file is your PES or whatever format you happen to use. And save as, stitch and working. I'm just going to leave it at the same thing and save it. And yes, I want to replace it because now it's a 4x4. Okay, that's it for that. Any questions on that? It's easy to do. I really like Stitch Artist from Embrilliance. Like I said, I think if you go to embrilliance.com, you can download a free copy. I think it's good for 90 days. I'm not sure exactly how long it's good for, but you can try it out. It's one of the most inexpensive of all of the digitizing software. And it's very, very powerful. I belong to the Embrilliance Stitch Artists Facebook group. I have no idea how these people do these amazing designs, but they do. They're fabulous and they're very intricate, and I can learn a lot from them. So not the end all be all. I know just enough to be dangerous with these software programs. So if you have any questions, send me an email at waltzquilt@yahoo.com. That's WALTZQUILT@yahoo.com. And I will be happy to answer any questions. So I hope to see you next week. Have a good weekend. Happy fall. See you later. Bye.